Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of our web series, The Structure of a JIRA Project. In this episode, we're going to go over screens. In the previous episodes, we've gone over issue types, workflows, and as I just mentioned, today we're going to go over screens. Previously mentioned in our episodes, I like to talk about how issue types are your main driver of your project. And in today's episode, that's going to be no difference with screens. We're going to look at both a company managed project and a team managed project in JIRA Cloud. These steps are going to be very similar if you are using JIRA Server or JIRA Data Center. So screens, what are screens and what do they do? Screens are what display your information on your JIRA tickets. Also, it's what displays the information you want people to fill out when creating a JIRA ticket. With screens and screen schemes, you can determine what fields those are based on the issue type. We're going to go over the company managed project first and how you set up the screen schemes and change those for what the issue type is. You'll see here we are in the company managed project and we're at the screen configuration screen right here. What I like to do is open this tab here, and this is going to take us to your issue type screen scheme. What this issue type screen scheme does exactly what the name says. It will determine the screens you're using based on the issue type. For this demo, you're going to see that we have two screen schemes set up that are associated to different issue types. We have a default screen scheme, which is set up for story, epic, task, and subtask. So when creating, viewing, or editing an issue type that follows one of these, it will show those particular fields on the screen. Below that is for bugs, which is going to show different fields on the screen that relate to bugs. To get down a little bit more into this, we can click here and it's going to show us what screens are using for what operation. As I previously mentioned, there's three operations that are associated with screens and screen schemes: the create issue screen, the edit issue screen, and the view issue screen. What do those operations mean? The create issue screen is a screen that you see when you go to create an issue. On this screen, you're going to see the fields that you determine are appropriate for someone creating a ticket. And it will change based on the issue type. You'll see right now that we're looking at story, but we know that bug has a different set of fields and a different screen. By selecting bug, we're going to have a little bit of different information here. And then there's the screen for edit issue. These are going to be the fields that you see when you're editing an issue, which is very similar to when you're viewing an issue. So you'll see here, there's not a lot of information on this ticket right now. You'll see we have the description and information over here, along with all the other fields that aren't showing up right now because we don't really have any information in there, but we can make changes. So, for instance, I'm able to edit the story points field right now, and that's because the story points field is on the edit issue screen. If this field was not on the edit issue screen, it would just be a viewable field. And let me show you how to do that. So we're going to go over here to the edit issue. And you see here, this is going to show you all the screens that you have. And I will go over this in a little more detail in just a moment. But you can see from here, we can remove the sprint field. And now the sprint field is no longer visible. Don't worry, you can add it back. And just like that, with a little refresh, the sprint field's back. Now, as we talk about the screens and the screen schemes, there's a couple of other schemes that are in place here. Right now we're looking at the issue type screen scheme. And as I mentioned, that controls what screen schemes, you're going to get used to that word, screen schemes are being used. And what the screen scheme is doing is controlling what screens are being used for which operation: create issue, edit issue, view issue. And then there are the individual screens. So let's go over how you can make updates to your individual screens. You'll see, if you remember earlier, I clicked on this to remove and add the sprint field. Pretty simple things that you can do. You could do this for any field that is currently available as long as the field is available to the project. And that's something that relates with custom fields and context, something we'll talk about much later on in this series. You can also add tabs, so that way the information that you're displaying might be a little more organized. Let's say you have a PMO team that needs to look at specific fields. Well, I don't want all those fields sitting on the exact same screen so that a PMO has to scroll through all this information that a developer needs to look through. So instead, we create a tab called PMO information, and from there we can add a field that would be relatable to a PMO, such as acceptance criteria. And now, if we go back to this ticket we were just previously looking at, you'll see that it's going to give you a little bit of information. We have the general tab and then the PMO information. And you can also rename the field tab if you need it to be something more. And you can also remove the tabs by just pressing this X. Now, that's how you add, remove fields from a screen, and also how you can add tabs to the screen. But how do you make changes and add screen schemes to your issue type screen scheme? That's pretty simple. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over to our screen schemes, issue type screen schemes. So how do you add issue types to use different screen schemes in your current issue type screen scheme? That's something simple that we could do here. So you can see here, I'm at the issue type screen schemes management or admin page. I'm going to select the screen scheme that relates to the project. And from here, you'll see that you can associate an issue type with a screen scheme. Now, if you already have a screen scheme created, great. This is where you can go ahead and add it from. So let's say I want to have ask a question. You probably don't need as much information when someone's asking a question, so let's go with a little bit more of a screen that's going to have just a few fields. I'm just going to click one of these. As you see, there's several. I'm going to select add, and now you'll see that we have a new issue type that is also associated with the default screen scheme, which is now associated with our project's issue type screen scheme. One thing to note is that this will not work if you do not have that issue type associated with your project. So make sure you add that on there, so then it would populate correctly. Now, as we're still talking about the company managed project in screen schemes, there is a different way to update the screens and also the issue types that are related to it. And it looks a little similar to the team managed project, but let's go ahead and look at that different way to do so. You'll see here I'm still in the project settings as I was previously. I go over here to issues and then issues layout. You'll see here it's going to show me what issue types are in this project and then what issue screen they are related to, or bug screen, whatever screen they are related to. I can then select edit issue layout. And from here, this is going to take me to a different view, but still essentially doing the same thing I was doing before, which is either removing a field or adding a field. You'll see here, we have all these fields down here that when it's empty, that they are hidden. You can simply change that and have it be a context field or a description field by easy drag and drop. One thing you can do from here, if you're realizing that your field is not showing up on this screen, you can go to custom fields and look for that field and see if it is associated with your project and the issue type that you're trying to add that. You can add it to that screen that is associated with that issue type. You'll see here, it once again marks that we're looking at the default issue screen for epics, task, subtask, and story for this project and this screen scheme. So that is the company managed project way to make those updates. Now, team managed project, if you remember, it's more of a project that is contained within itself. So the changes are going to be a little bit different to screens and screen schemes. I'm not going to have to say schemes so many times in this part of it. So we're going to go over here. We are in our team managed project. We're going to go to issue types. And this is where all the magic happens, as they say, when it comes to screens and your fields. You'll see here it's broken out again that we have issue types. There's epic, bug, and then subtask with all those in between. And the way that you can make changes to the screen, this is the actual screen. This is how it will show on the ticket. You can look at fields that have been previously created, and you can simply drag and drop. You can add priority. You can also create a field specifically for this project, for this issue type, with just a simple click. And from there, we can create a new field. You can tell a description on there, and you can put any default text. Click away, and now our new field is there. Maybe we decided this field's no longer needed. Simply take the field and move it over to the side, and now it is no longer on the screen. This can be done for any of those issue types. That's a good point. Make sure you save your changes. You can do this for any issue type that is related to your project. Also, if you remember from our first episode, this is how you can add an issue type to your project. So that's screens and the difference between using a company managed project and a team managed project. I want to thank you for joining our episode today on screens and hearing me say the word schemes multiple times. And this has been the structure of a JIRA project. Thank you.